Cass, don't cut that out. That was comedy gold.
That was great. Okay. Welcome, CDR. I'm Matt. This is Brent. This week we have been listening to Tash Sultana's second album, Tera Firma.
Yep.
Got that right the second time. The 25-year-old Melbourne singer-songwriter, ex-busker, has collaborated with Matt Colby and Dan Humes and features a couple of other artists on this album to bring what is more of a lo-fi, slow, chilled, jazzy, somewhat of a little bit of a R&B, if you could call a chilled TLC album, which has definitely stepped away from her previous two albums, the LP and the EP, which we should definitely establish a little bit. Tash she is mainly a solo player. So when who learnt through over the years, been as busking, just looping tracks over and over and over again, and that's her niche market. That's what she is just unbelievably fluent in, and it drags you into this flow of her own vibe. And in this album, she's kind of stepped away from that, even though it does happen in the first track. It's not as rocky as her previous two, but this is still kind of been an easy listening album for the week for me.
Tony would be remiss of me not to say that apparently Tash Sultana is her actual name. Is
Natasha is her name, not Jay Hendrix Tash Sultana.
Yeah. So Tony wanted to make sure that fact was put in, but yeah, you're absolutely right. This is completely chilled. It was actually excellent music to sort of just sit back, listen to whilst working. It doesn't require too much to just have on in the background. And like this, it's the sort of music that I actually would put on at like absolutely like a chill sort of like dinner party, like board games or something around the house. Just chuck it on. This music is actually really quite soothing for that sort of thing. The surfy lo-fi aesthetic. But in terms of my week with it, it's a weird one. This was a weird week, I thought. The reason it was weird is because I can see that it's really quite good as a chilled album. I just, almost by default, there was nothing for me to really grasp onto. It sort of, every time you listen to a song, it felt like it slipped through my fingers like water. After I'd listened to it, I'd forgotten everything about it. And so I somewhat struggled to even remember the song names, the lyrics, almost anything. It was like you put it on and you're just going to have an hour of just like an extended relaxing sigh. But then at the end of it, you sort of wonder where that hour went, what you did with that time. And yeah, that's sort of about it. So it's tough to work out if I enjoyed it, I think is what I'm saying. What did you think?
You're definitely right that it's a backing track for whenever you have guests around to play board games.
Yep.
Shows how cool you are.
Shut up. Board games are fucking cool. We're in the new era now where like retro is cool, so shut your mouth.
Yes, we're playing Operation later.
No, you don't play fucking Operation. See, this is what happens when people who don't play board games talk about board games. Like, oh, do you play Monopoly? It's like, no, we have way better games nowadays because, you have Kickstarter and people actually put good ideas into games. Bought you a game for Christmas. You liked it. We should play it. Throw burrito.
Anyway, it's a sick game.
Okay, we're off track.
I do just want to make... there are a couple of fun facts about this album. She has brought back one song that she made when she was 17 that had been uploaded to her iCloud. She pulled it off and...
Can I guess?
Yeah, sure.
Pretty Lady?
Ooh, good question. Pretty Lady was her busking moneymaker song. I'm glad that one was another fun fact to bring up.
Yep.
Her 17-year-old song actually was... I wrote it down here. No, Coma.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Which is not actually about being in a coma. It's the opposite of it's what you're awake.
That's pretty funny that makes a lot of sense actually now that you say that, because in terms of the track list, Coma is the one that stands out as the odd one out. Like, Coma is progressive, is probably the most technically demanding. It has like a fairly well built up section towards the end. The guitar work is actually kind of frenetic, and that's literally the only point on the album where you could describe anything as frenetic.
Yep. Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, as soon as you said that, actually, yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. Starting with the first track, this is probably the only thing I can add to the rest of this album, because I don't actually have a lot to say, because it's so hard to really, yeah, you were right, be drawn into this. But the other thing is you are drawn into it and you just get lost amongst the music. But fun fact is, for the first track being Musk, is her looping track where all these songs and where she's adding in trumpets and the keyboard and guitars and different types of drums is loops that she uses throughout the album.
Right.
So it's literally the build up to the album. And the reason why it's called Musk is before she ever starts a session or a performance, she lights an incense and the smell just so happens to be musk.
I mean, everything about that just sounds like chill and like...
I watched a couple of her she has like a 3-part doco that was on YouTube, and she's just got this cool tiny little setup that she just take with her wherever she goes. And it's literally, she's got like a neon, 2 neon signs, a flamingo and a rainbow in the background.
Yeah. And
she's just got everything around her. She uses a trumpet and she hates the trumpet. She's like, it's so hard. Yeah, there's not much to say, really, is there?
I mean,
unless we want to talk about her backstory.
No. So for me, there are keep it to the music. Like, the one thing that I think she does quite well is, whilst she plays all the instruments and the instrumentation is pleasant without being complex, except for in a couple of spots, the level of vocal layering that gets done is actually quite exquisite in certain places. And I think the more highlighted points in the album are generally featuring that sort of vocal layering. So, for example, Pretty Lady, every time Pretty Lady is the line said, it comes in with a different vocal flavor that sort of builds and builds throughout the track. By the end of the track, it's this, you wouldn't say a symphony, but like it feels like there's 7 or 8 people just sort of singing in that.
On a harmony.
Yeah, just quite nice and just an interesting little build-up. I thought like the complexities of that vocal arrangement were fun and interesting for me to listen to. And tracks like Willow Tree basically sound like, it's funny you say R&B, it's like this track, you said TLC, my analogy was Destiny's Child. It sounded about the same. Like, this could have come straight out of Destiny's Child if they were a vibe surfy rock act, you know.
I was like, Willow Tree is like kind of finger snapping. This is all I really got from it. I was like, this is kind of fun. Yeah.
And there are the occasional hook, so like Sweet and Dandy, like that line, sweet and dandy, kind of just sticks in my head every time I hear it, but it's one of the few hooks that really sort of get in. And I really quite like the way I Am Free. There's a lot of ethereal build to the way the music is constructed, but I Am Free sort of does the best job with it, which is actually quite fulfilling given it's the last track. So listening to it, it feels like it ends on a positive, uplifting high. It's actually a pretty good closer for the album. The problem is, outside of that, it's like grabbing onto water, like I said before. It's tough to really give off my experience, because in some sense, I don't know if I actually properly experienced it. Maybe it's a case of not having listened to it enough, but I listened to this album 10 times, genuinely. Like, it was easy to listen to, perfect work music. And then on the occasions where I was really sitting down to listen to it, even then I found myself
just slipping.
Yeah.
I get you. Did you? She's got a very short backing album. Sorry, not backing, discography.
Yes.
Did you listen to previous ones?
I mean, I wasn't encouraged to do so by listening to this album. I sort of, when I was listening to it, I was happy to have that Zen vibe, but I didn't really ever feel the need to go and listen to anything else. Did you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did today.
Any good?
When she really builds up and then she gets into a flow after, or she's looped everything together, she'll normally just stick to probably mostly her guitar when she comes to singing. And when she goes into just this, let's just call it the Hendrix zone, and she just starts shredding. You really do just realize like how good this person is, or how just immersed this person is feeling their own vibe and their own flow. Previous tracks been Jungle, which is how she previously got famous.
Number 3 in Hot 100.
And number 3 when
when
she wasn't even signed at the time. Originally, it was up for a week or for 5 days, got 1 million views.
Yeah.
And I checked yesterday, it's now at 97 million views.
Jeez.
I know.
Jeez.
That's pretty insane. And then you watch that and you go, she's really, really good. And then you listen to another song called Blackbird, which is probably her 11-string guitar spin-off of John Butler's Ocean, but she's done it her own way.
11-string guitar?
Yep.
Okay.
11 or 12.
Okay, I was going to say 12's usually what you go, but if it's 11, it's like, fuck the sharp E, get out.
Probably. Well, I'm pretty sure, doesn't John Butler do 11 on his?
I have no idea what they do. They do funky shit. They use spoons.
Or they all, these two just feel like they would jam real well because they are on their own.
So it sounds like you're having the same feeling as me, that this one's actually kind of tough to grade.
This is a real hard album to give a full out opinion because you can't grab onto one thing and go, this is great and amazing, when the other part is, it's so hard to really listen to it and stay immersed and then be like, oh, this is touching my soul. And it's like, oh, this is great background music. This is music to work to. This is music to potter around to. Not a music to jam to.
I mean, at its worst, it's cliched. So in certain spots, so the track's Greed, I had written down. It sounds like hold music.
Okay,
which it does. And then Let the Light In. The lyrics are a bit cliched, and it just feels like it goes nowhere particular.
Which one? Sorry.
Let the Light In. Second last track.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, listening to the album is the experience. It almost feels wrong to sort of go to specific tracks because all the songs, they don't flow into each other, but it's the same vibe throughout.
It doesn't seem like there's much difference.
Yeah, and I have a lot of trouble then working out what the hell I'm going to give it as a score because I will never listen to this album again. I really don't want to. There's not enough teeth in it for me.
Yep.
But I can totally get why people like it, and I'd be happy to listen to it again. I just won't actively be the one going out and listening to it. Like if Tony chucked it on whilst we were, living our lives at home, I'd happily just leave it on. But
so this doesn't even make game night?
No.
Okay.
No, like I said, I probably won't listen to this again. What about you? Mate,
probably not. If I'm going to listen to something lo-fi and I can go through it, I'll just put on Chilled Cow.
What?
Chilled Cow is a don't worry about it.
No, Chilled Cow.
Chilled Cow is just an artist's name who just has made like a 24-hour track on YouTube for just listening to if you want to study.
Oh, okay. Or like if you hear some white noise to make you sleep. Like that sort of... No, nothing like that?
No, I think you're way off. I think your jokes didn't hit.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck you.
Okay.
I thought I had something there, but yeah.
I know. Well, we can take a moment if you want to pause and think of a better joke.
I'm perfectly fine, Bryn. Let's just forge ahead. I'm looking forward to giving my damn score, forgetting about this album, and then finally getting us into something that's going to kick you in the head.
Thank God. That's awesome. I reckon you should probably put this on in the background for a dinner party.
If you're into surfy, relaxed music, this is absolutely great. There's no doubt about that. But I don't want to listen to it again. I'm giving it a... Do you want to guess?
4.5.
4. Still more enjoyable than Kid Laroi, but it probably sits at the same level as like Ohms for me.
Oh, fair enough.
I mean, at least Ohms had...
I'm sure the fans have got a different opinion, but that's them anyway.
It's the weirdest 4 I think I'll ever give.
Yep.
Because I can totally get why people think it would be the best. Anyway, I'm sick of talking about this album.
Matt, next week's album is... Let me write it down.
Schlagenheim by Black Midi. We're going to have some fun. So, just as a preface, this album is going to be the polar opposite in all ways you can imagine to the one we just listened to.
Is this even in English?
Yeah. It'll be in English. I can't remember what the first track is, but when we listen to it, I think you'll understand what you're in for. Schlagenheim.
Schlagenheim. How do you spell that?
Schlagenheim. Bang, bang, bang. We're going to listen to it after we cut off here, and I can't wait to get your reaction.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait. Now, I gave you a challenge last week.
Ah, yes.
To listen to B-side of Eminem's Music to Be Murdered By. Told you to go in and listen to the lyrics or concentrate mainly on the lyrics because it is a hip-hop album. Oh, sorry, it's a rap album. It's just a lot of looping and adding a little bit of tracks in it. There's not much musical to it, but lyrically, I think it's unbelievably hilarious, funny, witty, fast in tempo, low in tempo, keeping you switching up, maybe catch you once or twice. You just like, what was that line?
So this confused me a lot, side B, right? So I've always been a little bit partial to Eminem music as like a guilty pleasure. So like I know all the words to Without Me, and I think everyone else knows the words to Lose Yourself. I know all the words. I hadn't listened to any of his stuff for, best part of like 15 years. But the B-side is fucking an hour and 50 minutes long. So I went and had a look, and it's like apparently only like he's dumped a bunch of additional tracks onto the original album. So the original album was normal length, and then because apparently it wasn't long enough, he's like, oh, we better add 20 new tracks or whatever the fuck the case was.
Good tracks.
There was a lot of tracks in there that I thought were just there to take up space. There were some good tracks. Ones that come to mind are Zeus, which I think is a song. Some of the lines in there I think relate to him apologizing to Rihanna for taking Chris Brown's side at some point. And while some of the lyrics are fun, I lost track of how many times he referenced his nuts. But like, I'm also partial to severe levels of immaturity at times. So the poo-poo pee-pee stuff on occasion does get me giggling.
Come on, when you little things like my ass is a landing strip and my crotch is the cockpit because I fly from the seat of my pants.
Look, I can't remember any specific jives off the top of my head, but obviously you can. I don't... It's sad to say, but I think I enjoyed it more than Tash Sultana. Because of the fact that there was really something to sort of sink your teeth into. But
there's a lot in that album.
But I'd rather listen to Tash Sultana's album before I listen to Side B again. Mainly because you're getting out of there an hour earlier than...
Fuck this guy.
And I didn't mind the aesthetic about like everything having to be fucking murdered. It's like anyone who's a girl that has any sort of association with Eminem, you're probably going to get a knife in the back or the guts or wherever, and he explicitly talks about it. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Anyway, I completed your challenge, and that's why we're doing Schlagenheim this week. It's kind of like the double whammy for Tash, Sultana, and Side B. We need something to shake it up, and this will be new for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is definitely new for me.
Yeah. But yeah, this I suspect will be challenging, but I'll be interested to see if there's anything you take away that you like from this.
Okay, cool. We've rambled on long enough.
We have.
I'm Bryn, that's Matt, and we are CDR. Catch you next time.
Don't break the set. Bye.
Bye. Shall we listen to the first track?
Yeah, fuck it. During the podcast, I think we reference Tash as she. Come to our attention that Tash is actually non-binary and preferred pronouns are them, they. So apologies for that. We meant nothing by it, but I think it was just a case of our mouths talking before our brains thought about it.
Natural slip.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah.